Lewis Hamilton sets a media record in Bahrain with a 56.8-second fast lap. Stay until the end, and I'll explain the technical reasons behind the car that allowed Hamilton to adapt so quickly. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. If you believed that Lewis Hamilton would face significant difficulties adapting to his new team, Ferrari, you might need to reconsider that assumption entirely. The 7-time world champion has already begun his transition into the Maranello-based squad in a way that has left many observers astonished. Despite years of deep-rooted familiarity with Mercedes' intricate systems, aerodynamic philosophy, and technical approach, Hamilton has wasted no time in acclimating to his new environment. His first true on-track experience with the SF25 at the Fiorano circuit has provided early indications that this transition is unfolding far more seamlessly than initially predicted. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. From the moment he stepped into the cockpit, Hamilton's feedback was notably positive. He quickly identified the car's well-balanced nature, pointing out its stability in both high-speed and low-speed corners. Such immediate confidence in the car's handling is crucial, particularly given the assumption that he would need several months to recalibrate his driving style to match Ferrari's unique engineering philosophy. Historically, drivers making a team switch often struggle with even the smallest details, whether it's brake feel, suspension setup, throttle response, or overall downforce distribution. However, Hamilton's ability to extract promising performance metrics right from the outset is a sign that Ferrari may have created a car that aligns exceptionally well with his driving preferences. One of the biggest concerns when switching teams, especially for a driver as accustomed to a singular engineering approach as Hamilton, is how quickly they can adapt to a different chassis philosophy. Mercedes cars have been developed with a very specific aerodynamic concept in mind, prioritizing stability under braking, high-speed efficiency, and a progressive throttle response. Ferrari, on the other hand, has often leaned towards aggressive mechanical grip solutions, a different weight distribution, and a slightly more sensitive front end. These differences might have suggested that Hamilton would require significant time to familiarize himself with the SF25, but his early outings suggest otherwise. Not only has he adapted quickly, but he has also already begun offering technical insights that could further refine Ferrari's development path. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. What makes this development even more intriguing is the performance potential of the SF25 itself. Based on internal simulations and early analysis, Ferrari has reportedly found at least 0.4 of a second per lap compared to its predecessor, the SF24. If these numbers hold true during pre-season testing in Bahrain, it would signal a monumental step forward for the Scuderia. For years, Ferrari has struggled to begin a season on par with the dominant forces of the grid, most notably Red Bull and, in certain cases, McLaren and Mercedes. However, this time, the numbers suggest that Ferrari may finally have a machine capable of competing from the very first race. The implications of this improvement are enormous. First and foremost, a competitive Ferrari right from the start means that Red Bull's dominance could be seriously challenged much earlier than expected. While Max Verstappen and Red Bull have been the undisputed benchmarks in recent years, an informed Hamilton in a strong Ferrari would immediately disrupt the established pecking order. Moreover, if Ferrari's newfound performance gains are sustainable across different circuit characteristics, low downforce tracks, high degradation circuits, and power-sensitive venues, the team could be a genuine contender for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Another element that adds to this equation is Hamilton's work ethic and relentless pursuit of performance. Unlike a rookie or even an average experienced driver, Hamilton's ability to dissect a car's strengths and weaknesses at a rapid pace is unparalleled. His understanding of race strategy, tire management, and long-run consistency means that Ferrari could benefit from a level of racecraft refinement that they haven't had in recent years. His arrival is not just a morale boost for the team, but also a game-changing shift in how Ferrari approaches race weekends. Furthermore, Ferrari's recent technical restructuring could play a pivotal role in how quickly the team is able to integrate Hamilton's preferences into their car development. Under the guidance of team principal Frédéric Vasseur, the Scuderia has been working tirelessly to streamline operations, improve in-race decision-making, and enhance pit-stop execution, 3 areas where they have often faltered in recent seasons. With Hamilton bringing his wealth of experience from a team that has excelled in operational efficiency, Ferrari could see significant improvements in areas that were previously considered weak points. In addition to performance and adaptability, the psychological impact of Hamilton's presence at Ferrari cannot be ignored. His mere arrival has injected a fresh wave of confidence within the team, and the mentality inside Maranello appears to be shifting. For years, Ferrari has operated under immense internal pressure, sometimes leading to rushed decisions and mismanagement. However, with Hamilton's championship-winning mindset permeating through the team, there is a growing sense that Ferrari is moving towards a more structured, resilient, and composed approach to racing. All of these factors combined paint a picture of a potentially transformative season for both Hamilton and Ferrari. While pre-season testing will ultimately provide a clearer picture of the SF25's true capabilities, the early signs suggest that this partnership may bear fruit far sooner than anticipated. If Hamilton can extract maximum performance from his car right from the opening rounds, Ferrari could find themselves in the thick of the title fight, something that fans and analysts have been yearning for over a decade. The road ahead is undoubtedly long, and challenges will arise, but if the initial indicators are anything to go by, we may be on the verge of witnessing one of the most captivating Formula One seasons in recent memory. Hamilton's transition to Ferrari isn't just about a driver changing teams. It's about a legacy being rewritten, a historic team potentially reclaiming its former glory, and the possibility of a true multi-team championship battle unfolding in a way that F1 hasn't seen in years. Subscribe only if you want Hamilton to win his 8th World Championship and be crowned as the greatest driver in history. Hamilton's first experience behind the wheel of the Ferrari SF25 was a pivotal moment not just for him but for the entire team, marking the beginning of what could be one of the most significant transitions in modern Formula One history. This initial shakedown was far more than just a routine run. It was a deeply revealing session that provided Ferrari's engineers with invaluable data and, just as crucially, allowed Hamilton to begin adapting to an entirely new car philosophy, one that is markedly different from what he had grown accustomed to during his years at Mercedes. Ferrari wasted no time putting their 2025 Challenger through its paces. Immediately after the high-profile F1 75 live event in London, where the team unveiled their latest creation to the world, the SF25 was swiftly transported to Fiorano, Ferrari's private test track, in adherence to the team's tradition of conducting an exclusive shakedown prior to the commencement of official preseason testing. The goal was clear: gather as much preliminary data as possible, ensure all systems were functioning correctly, and allow their two drivers to get an initial feel for the car before facing the intense scrutiny of the full test schedule. The honor of taking the SF25 out onto the track for the first time fell to Charles Leclerc, Ferrari's incumbent star, who has been with the team long enough to understand both its strengths and weaknesses in depth. As soon as he completed his installation lap, it became evident that this car was built with significant improvements in mind. Leclerc completed approximately 30 laps. His initial runs focused on evaluating the SF25's handling characteristics, particularly its cornering stability and traction out of slower speed corners, two areas where Ferrari had struggled in previous seasons. His first feedback to the engineers was overwhelmingly positive. He noted that the SF25 felt noticeably more balanced and predictable than its predecessor, which had often been difficult to control under heavy braking and prone to excessive tire degradation over race distances. These two issues had been among the primary culprits behind Ferrari's inconsistency in 2024, preventing them from mounting a sustained title challenge. Once Leclerc concluded his runs, he stepped out of the car, discussing his findings with the engineering team while the crew prepared for the next phase of the shakedown. Then, at exactly 12:47 p.m. local time, a historic moment unfolded. Lewis Hamilton, now fully dressed in Ferrari red for the first time in an official session, climbed into the SF25's cockpit, marking the beginning of a new chapter in his illustrious career. A round of applause erupted from the assembled tifosi who had gathered at Fiorano, eager to witness the seven-time world champion's first real interaction with his new machine. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. This was, after all, not just another test session but the symbolic start of what could be a defining era for both Hamilton and Ferrari. Hamilton, renowned for his methodical approach to car development and setup refinement, took his time getting comfortable. His first laps were deliberately conservative, as he focused on establishing a baseline understanding of the SF25's characteristics. Every aspect mattered: braking points, throttle sensitivity, overall responsiveness, each detail feeding into his vast reservoir of knowledge, which he would later use to help fine-tune the car's development. Initially, his runs were steady, with lap times that suggested he was prioritizing data collection over outright speed. However, as he became more acclimated to the car's behavior, he began to push harder, testing its limits and exploring its capabilities in greater depth. That was when the biggest revelation of the day emerged. As Hamilton ramped up his pace, his telemetry data began to tell a fascinating story. Unlike the previous year's Ferrari, which had been unpredictable under braking and prone to overheating its rear tires over long stints, the SF25 appeared to offer a far more composed and stable platform. Hamilton, who had spent years mastering the intricacies of Mercedes' high-rake concept, found himself adapting surprisingly quickly to Ferrari's fundamentally different aerodynamic philosophy. His corner exits became progressively cleaner, his braking points sharper, and his overall consistency more refined with each passing lap. Engineers monitoring the live data feeds noted that Hamilton was already extracting levels of performance that suggested he was feeling increasingly at home in the car, an encouraging sign given that this was merely his first run in Ferrari machinery. By the time he completed his final lap, the paddock was buzzing. Observers noted that Hamilton had already started providing highly detailed feedback to Ferrari's engineers, delving into intricate details about the car's weight distribution, suspension compliance, and aerodynamic efficiency. His input was so precise that some within the team were reportedly astonished at how quickly he was able to identify areas for potential refinement. This ability to diagnose even the subtlest of handling nuances is one of the hallmarks of Hamilton's greatness, and it was on full display from the very first session. The shakedown session concluded with a thorough debriefing. Both Leclerc and Hamilton sat down with the engineers, exchanging notes and observations about their experiences behind the wheel. While Leclerc's feedback was primarily focused on the car's improved balance and reduced tire degradation, Hamilton's analysis was even more technical, covering everything from differential settings to aerodynamic balance shifts under high-speed load. It was clear that Ferrari had just gained an invaluable asset, not only a driver of immense talent, but also one of the most perceptive and articulate development minds on the grid. For Ferrari, this was more than just a successful shakedown. It was a statement of intent. The SF25 had already demonstrated significant improvements over its predecessor, and with Hamilton now fully integrated into the team's development process, the prospects for further refinement and optimization seemed promising. While this was just the beginning, the early signs suggested that Ferrari might finally have a car capable of mounting a serious championship challenge. As the sun began to set over Fiorano, Hamilton remained deep in conversation with Ferrari's technical staff, already discussing potential setup adjustments and areas for improvement ahead of the next phase of testing. It was a glimpse into the future, a future in which Ferrari, armed with one of the greatest drivers of all time, could be on the verge of reclaiming its place at the pinnacle of Formula One. According to internal sources within Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton's first experience with the SF25 left a profound impression on him, particularly in three fundamental areas that significantly differentiate this car from the Mercedes machinery he has been accustomed to over the past seasons. His immediate reaction was one of genuine surprise at the distinct characteristics of the car's behavior on track, revealing a stark contrast in performance dynamics compared to his previous experiences. The British driver, who is known for his meticulous feedback and ability to adapt quickly to different driving environments, took careful note of the SF25's strengths and how they could potentially impact his performance once he transitions fully to the Scuderia. The first element that caught Hamilton's attention was the braking stability of the SF25. From the first few laps, it became evident that Ferrari has made significant strides in ensuring that the car remains exceptionally composed under heavy braking. Unlike the Mercedes cars of recent years, which often exhibited a tendency to become unstable or unpredictable when decelerating aggressively into corners, the Ferrari's braking system and overall chassis balance allowed for a far more planted and controlled experience. This level of stability provides a crucial advantage, particularly in situations where a driver needs to carry high speed into a corner while maintaining confidence in the car's response. It also plays a vital role in overtaking scenarios, as it enables more precise late braking maneuvers, something that Hamilton has always excelled at but had found increasingly difficult to execute in a Mercedes that was prone to nervousness under deceleration. Furthermore, in defensive situations, a stable car under braking means Hamilton will have a greater ability to control his racing lines and fend off attacks from rivals without risking lockups or unsettling the rear of the car, a weakness that Mercedes has struggled to fully resolve in recent years. The second major factor that Hamilton identified as a game-changer was the power delivery of the Ferrari power unit. Over the years, Mercedes has developed an immensely powerful hybrid engine, but one of its drawbacks has been the somewhat abrupt nature of its energy deployment, particularly in lower-speed corners and traction zones. Hamilton immediately noticed that Ferrari had managed to refine its power delivery to be smoother, more linear, and more predictable, which translates into improved drivability and efficiency in managing throttle application. This characteristic is particularly valuable in race conditions, where maintaining consistent traction and tire conservation is key to long-term performance over a stint. The way a car deploys its hybrid energy is not just about raw speed, it directly impacts fuel consumption, battery regeneration, and overall acceleration behavior throughout a race. Ferrari appears to have optimized its energy deployment strategy in a way that offers a more natural and controllable surge of power, reducing the risk of wheel spin and allowing for more confident acceleration out of corners. This level of refinement suggests that Ferrari's engineers have made significant advancements in their hybrid system, fine-tuning how energy is harvested and deployed to maximize both efficiency and power output across different phases of a lap. The third crucial factor that stood out to Hamilton was the level of rear-end grip that the SF25 offered. Over the past several seasons, one of Ferrari's recurring challenges has been maintaining stability at high speeds, particularly in fast corners where Red Bull's aerodynamics have given them a decisive edge. However, Ferrari's engineers have focused extensively on addressing this weakness by refining the car's suspension geometry and making aerodynamic modifications to enhance rear stability. The impact of these changes was immediately noticeable to Hamilton, who felt significantly more confident in pushing the car to its absolute limits. Unlike some of the Mercedes cars he has driven in recent years, which could feel nervous or unpredictable when attacking high-speed sections of the track, the SF25 provided a more consistent and confidence-inspiring experience. This enhanced rear-end stability not only benefits outright cornering performance but also improves tire longevity, as a car that maintains steady downforce and traction at high speeds is less likely to suffer from excessive tire degradation, an issue that has plagued both Mercedes and Ferrari in different ways over the past few years. Hamilton's initial feedback suggests that Ferrari has made meaningful strides in key areas that directly impact race performance. The combination of stable braking, refined power delivery, and improved rear grip could position the SF25 as a formidable competitor on circuits that have historically exposed Ferrari's weaknesses. These strengths align well with Hamilton's driving style, as he thrives in cars that allow for aggressive yet controlled braking, smooth and predictable acceleration, and confidence-inspiring high-speed cornering. His ability to extract maximum performance from a stable rear end and a well-balanced chassis could make a significant difference in how Ferrari approaches race strategy and car setup throughout the season. While it remains to be seen how these characteristics will translate across different track conditions and competitive scenarios, Hamilton's early impressions indicate that Ferrari has provided him with a machine that addresses many of the limitations he has faced in recent seasons. The transition from Mercedes to Ferrari was always expected to be a major adjustment, but the early signs suggest that this could be a far smoother process than initially anticipated. If Ferrari continues to refine these strengths and builds upon them throughout the development cycle, Hamilton may find himself in a car that not only suits his driving style, but also gives him the tools necessary to challenge for victories on a regular basis. Ferrari's prospects for the upcoming Formula One season have become one of the most debated topics among analysts and fans alike, particularly in light of the early indicators emerging from their Fiorano shakedown. The ultimate question lingering in the minds of many is whether these encouraging signs are truly enough to mount a legitimate and sustained challenge against the dominance of Red Bull. While on paper the improvements appear substantial, the reality of Formula One is far more complex, requiring not just raw speed but also a perfect synergy of strategy, tire management, driver cohesion, and operational execution throughout an intensely competitive calendar. The Fiorano test data has certainly raised eyebrows, with Charles Leclerc reportedly setting a best lap time in the region of 56.6 seconds, an astonishingly close margin to the all-time Fiorano record of 55.999 seconds set by Michael Schumacher. What makes this even more remarkable is that this time was achieved under conditions that were far from optimal. The SF25 ran on non-official tires, meaning they were not the same Pirelli compounds used in race conditions, and temperatures were significantly lower than what the car will face in actual Grand Prix weekends. Cold track temperatures generally result in less optimal tire performance, making the time set by Leclerc all the more impressive. If these lap times can be replicated or even improved upon in the much more representative conditions of pre-season testing in Bahrain, it would strongly suggest that Ferrari has finally developed a machine that is not only competitive but capable of consistently running at the front. The whispers circulating in the paddock about Ferrari potentially gaining up to 0.4 of a second per lap over their 2024 pace are becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss. Such a leap in performance is significant in Formula One, where even an improvement of 1 or 2 tenths per lap can alter the competitive hierarchy. If this time gain is confirmed under race conditions in Bahrain, it would signify a major breakthrough. one that could see Ferrari challenging Red Bull and McLaren on a consistent basis rather than just on circuits that favor their car's strengths. It is one thing to be quick in a shakedown with minimal variables at play, but entirely another to sustain that speed across a full season, with varying track characteristics, tire compounds, fuel loads, and race strategies coming into play. However, pure car performance is just one side of the equation. Equally crucial to Ferrari's championship ambitions will be how they manage the internal dynamics of their newly formed driver lineup. The arrival of Lewis Hamilton at the team is set to shake up not only Ferrari's internal structure, but also the entire grid. The dynamic between Hamilton and Leclerc is already shaping up to be one of the defining narratives of the upcoming season, with both drivers having strong claims to the #1 status within the Scuderia. On one hand, Leclerc has been Ferrari's golden boy since joining in 2019. He has developed deep knowledge of the team's inner workings, understands its culture, and has played an integral role in shaping the technical direction of its cars over the last several seasons. On the other hand, Hamilton brings with him an unmatched level of experience, having won 7 world championships and battled at the sharp end of the grid for over a decade. His ability to extract performance in high-pressure moments and his racecraft in wheel-to-wheel battles are virtually unparalleled. Ferrari team principal Frédéric Vasseur has publicly stated that both drivers will start the season on equal terms, with no designated #1 driver. However, history has shown that in Formula One, teams inevitably gravitate toward one driver as their de facto leader as the season unfolds. If Ferrari finds itself in a genuine title fight, the internal power struggle between Hamilton and Leclerc could be just as critical as the battle against Red Bull on track. Will Ferrari's strategists be able to keep both drivers satisfied, or will tensions arise when crucial strategy calls favor one over the other? How will Hamilton react if he perceives that the team is prioritizing Leclerc, who has a long-term future with Ferrari? Conversely, how will Leclerc handle the pressure of having a driver of Hamilton's caliber as his teammate, knowing that any mistakes could tip the balance in favor of the Briton? The psychological aspect of this rivalry cannot be overlooked. Leclerc has spent the past few years establishing himself as Ferrari's undisputed leader, but Hamilton's arrival instantly changes the power dynamics. For the first time since Sebastian Vettel's departure, Leclerc will have a teammate who is a proven world champion with an established track record of fighting for titles. This situation is entirely new for him. While Carlos Sainz has been a formidable teammate, he was never a direct rival in terms of championship aspirations. With Hamilton in the garage alongside him, Leclerc will need to elevate his game to another level, not just in terms of raw pace but also in race management, decision-making, and political maneuvering within the team. Furthermore, the influence of Hamilton's presence at Ferrari extends beyond just intra-team dynamics. His arrival has also created ripples in the broader championship landscape, with Red Bull, Mercedes, and McLaren all closely monitoring how the Ferrari duo will coexist. If Ferrari is indeed as competitive as early indicators suggest, the battle between Hamilton and Leclerc could potentially play into the hands of their rivals. A divided Ferrari is a weaker Ferrari, and should tensions boil over between the two drivers, it could lead to costly errors in race execution, strategic miscalculations, and missed opportunities on the track. Red Bull and Max Verstappen, in particular, would be quick to capitalize on any internal discord, as would McLaren, which has been steadily improving and is expected to be a serious contender in 2025. Operationally, Ferrari must also prove that it has addressed the inconsistencies that have plagued it in recent years. Speed alone is not enough to win championships. Strategy blunders, poor tire management, and reliability issues have cost Ferrari dearly in past seasons, often undoing the hard work of their drivers on Saturdays. If the SF25 is indeed capable of matching Red Bull's pace, the Scuderia must ensure that they execute flawlessly across all aspects of race weekends. Even a marginally faster car will not be enough if the team continues to struggle with pit stop efficiency, race strategy decisions, and adaptability to changing conditions. The smallest errors can have massive consequences in a title fight, and Ferrari will need to demonstrate that it has learned from its past mistakes if it hopes to challenge for the championship. One key factor to consider is Ferrari's ability to develop the SF25 throughout the season. Red Bull has consistently been the benchmark in in-season development, with Adrian Newey and his technical team renowned for their ability to refine and optimize their car over the course of the year. Ferrari cannot afford to start strong only to fall behind in the development race. If the SF25 is competitive in Bahrain, the Scuderia must ensure that upgrades are introduced effectively and without compromising reliability. A strong car at the beginning of the season is only half the battle. Staying ahead requires relentless evolution and adaptability. If Charles Leclerc is able to extract the absolute maximum performance from the SF25 from the very first race of the 2025 season, Ferrari may find themselves naturally gravitating towards supporting him as their leading driver. After all, Leclerc is not only their longest-serving driver but also someone who has invested years into the team's philosophy, development approach, and overall structure. However, the equation shifts dramatically if Lewis Hamilton, despite his late arrival to the Scuderia, is able to acclimate himself to the car and team dynamics with exceptional speed. If Hamilton asserts himself as the superior performer early on, Ferrari may have little choice but to reorient their strategic priorities and back the seven-time world champion in what could be their most legitimate championship bid since the days of Fernando Alonso in 2010 and 2012. The key to Hamilton's success in 2025 lies in his ability to quickly integrate himself into the Ferrari ecosystem, a challenge that is often underestimated. Moving to a new team after spending over a decade with Mercedes means adapting to a completely different car philosophy, a distinct working culture, and a fresh set of engineers who operate under a unique development methodology. Ferrari's car characteristics have historically differed from those of Mercedes, with variations in aerodynamic philosophy, chassis balance, and even power unit deployment strategies. While Hamilton's adaptability has been one of his greatest strengths throughout his career, the question remains: can he adjust rapidly enough to mount a serious title challenge from the outset, or will Leclerc's familiarity with the Ferrari machinery and processes give him an advantage in the early stages of the season that Hamilton struggles to overturn? Beyond the internal dynamics at Ferrari, there is also the matter of Hamilton's broader ambitions. While many assume that his primary motivation in joining Ferrari is to secure an unprecedented 8th World Championship and surpass Michael Schumacher's long-standing record, Hamilton has made it clear that his mission at Ferrari extends beyond personal milestones. He has repeatedly emphasized his desire to restore Ferrari to its former glory, bringing championships back to Maranello and cementing himself as a pivotal figure in the Scuderia's storied history. Winning a title with Ferrari carries a weight of prestige unmatched by any other team. To join the ranks of Schumacher, Niki Lauda, Juan Manuel Fangio, and Alberto Ascari as a champion in red is an achievement that transcends mere statistics. It places a driver in the pantheon of motorsport legends. Yet, while Hamilton may outwardly downplay his pursuit of the all-time championship record, it would be naive to think that he is not acutely aware of the opportunity that lies before him. If Ferrari delivers a car capable of fighting for the title, there is no doubt that Hamilton will approach the season with the mindset of a driver determined to make history. His hunger for success remains undiminished, and recent comments suggest that he has no immediate plans to retire even if he secures another world championship. Instead, he has hinted at the possibility of leading Ferrari through a new era of dominance, seeing his tenure with the Scuderia as a multi-year project rather than a short-term bid for one final title. If Ferrari is competitive, Hamilton may remain in Formula One for several more years, spearheading the team's return to the pinnacle of the sport. However, all of these possibilities hinge on one fundamental variable: the actual competitiveness of the SF25 when it takes to the track in Bahrain. While Ferrari's pre-season simulations and wind tunnel numbers may suggest a significant step forward, the true test comes when the car is placed in direct competition against Red Bull, McLaren, and even Mercedes in real-world race conditions. If Ferrari's gains translate effectively on track, the team could be on the cusp of its strongest season in over a decade. On the other hand, if unforeseen weaknesses emerge, whether in terms of tire degradation, power unit reliability, or aerodynamic inconsistencies, Ferrari risks once again falling short in its pursuit of championship glory. Additionally, even if the car is genuinely competitive, there is the question of how Ferrari manages its driver lineup. Will the team allow Hamilton and Leclerc to race freely until one driver emerges as the stronger contender, or will they take an early stance in favor of one over the other? Ferrari has historically struggled with internal power dynamics between its drivers, with past rivalries, such as those between Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa, or Sebastian Vettel and Charles Leclerc, demonstrating how internal discord can derail a championship campaign. If Ferrari mishandles its driver management, it could open the door for Red Bull and Max Verstappen to capitalize on any internal strife. Complicating matters further is Hamilton's natural leadership presence. Throughout his time at Mercedes, he has been the undisputed focal point of the team's operations, with the entire structure built around maximizing his performance. At Ferrari, however, Leclerc has already been deeply embedded within the team's framework for years, and he enjoys strong support within the organization. If Hamilton seeks to establish himself as Ferrari's main driver, He will have to navigate the complexities of a team that has been molded around Leclerc's preferences. Will Ferrari be willing to shift its focus entirely to Hamilton if he proves to be the stronger driver, or will the team attempt to maintain parity between the two for as long as possible? The battle for supremacy within Ferrari is just one layer of what is shaping up to be an incredibly unpredictable 2025 season. Beyond Ferrari, the rest of the grid remains a formidable challenge. Red Bull, led by Max Verstappen, is unlikely to relinquish its dominance without a fight, and Adrian Newey's design expertise means the RB21 is expected to be another benchmark-setting machine. Meanwhile, McLaren's rapid resurgence in the latter half of 2024 suggests that they may enter 2025 as a legitimate title contender. Mercedes, despite losing Hamilton, will be eager to reclaim its former status, with George Russell and potentially an emerging young talent looking to reassert the team's championship aspirations. Ultimately, Ferrari's 2025 season will be defined not just by the car's raw performance, but by the internal and external battles that unfold across the campaign. Can Hamilton deliver immediate results and establish himself as Ferrari's de facto leader, or will Leclerc's established presence within the team give him an unassailable advantage? Will Ferrari's strategic decisions allow both drivers to fight for the title, or will internal conflicts disrupt their progress? And most crucially, will the SF25 be the car that finally returns Ferrari to championship-winning form, or will it fall short against the relentless force of Red Bull and Verstappen? As the season approaches, one thing is certain: the stakes have never been higher for Ferrari. The world of Formula One is watching, and history is waiting to be written.